On today's episode, I'm joined by Candace Dudley, a mom of 3, wife, and a former teacher turned multi-passionate entrepreneur. Candace owns 3 businesses: accountability coaching, furniture flipping, and a virtual shop called Willow and Wren. She helps women break down and prioritize their goals into actionable steps while holding them accountable. One of my favorite things about Candace is that she loves to help women step into their own power by giving them permission to chase joy and change their minds as often as they want. I am so excited to share this episode with you as Candace and I discuss not just accountability, but also choosing to shift our goals as we find others that are better aligned with us. Here's my conversation with Candace. I am excited to welcome Candace Dudley here, especially because of the fact that you're an accountability coach. I know you do multiple things, but I would love for you to share a little bit with us about why accountability is the thing that you've come to really be made known for.
Right. So I was a teacher, an elementary teacher for the last 13 years. And this is my first year doing what I do not simultaneously while I'm teaching. And so that part has been a leap and it's something I needed to do and it's been awesome. But what really started for me was I had joined an MLM after I had had my first baby. I have 3 kids and they're all bing 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 one after the other. So during that time, I was looking for some wellness things to sort of get me feeling like myself again. There's just a lot mentally that goes on after you've had a baby. It's an amazing time, but it's also a time when maybe you feel lonely, maybe you have the baby blues, all the things. And so I was really looking for something. And I saw a colleague of mine working on in her living room. So I started doing the same and I reached out to her. And after I had my 3rd baby, I started to realize like, wow, this whole like community that I'm in online, the workouts at home, we were also, my coach was having us read personal development. So a lot was shifting in my mindset. And I realized that if there's another mom out there feeling like I am, I need to share this. So that was my first leap outside of my comfort zone where I made my first social media post. I didn't like social media. I was shy. I didn't want to be on there. I didn't want to talk. I thought my story was boring. I thought that I didn't really have a story, but I was following a nudge, leaning into those butterflies. And I love that at that time, but you outgrow things sometimes. And so I outgrew that. And I started to not feel completely aligned with everything. And I really wanted to branch out on my own. And that's when I went and got my life coaching certification. And I didn't love that word. So I love the piece of accountability because I think that's the missing link for us sometimes. Like I said, I was a teacher. So when we're growing up, you have your teacher to keep you accountable. You have your parents to keep you accountable. If you play sports, you have a coach. College, you even have, and then all of a sudden, we have no accountability. We're these adults, and that life is happening, and I just thought how great it would be to offer that piece of it. So yeah, I help ladies with their wellness goals, and I also help ladies who are building businesses and help them. Basically, my process is that I help them kind of brain dump out everything that's floating around in our heads. Then we prioritize what is happening right now and then what actions those look like so that they have tasks that they can move forward on. And then obviously the accountability pieces that I check in with them and see, are you doing what you said you're going to do? Which is really very, very simple, but it's magical.
Yeah. When I first heard you talk about the fact that we have people to be accountable to throughout our lives until we basically hit our adult years,
Yeah.
it was the first time I'd ever heard that. And yet
Yes.
it's so true. Like it's such an obvious lack in our society. And unless you personally go out and try to find that for yourself,
Mhm.
you're on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you're in seasons of life where on your own is fine, but there's all these ebbs and flows of life that it's not happening. I was just talking about this on my social media stories this morning. You go to bed at night and your brain is racing and you're just thinking, tomorrow my intentions are that I'm just going to tackle my to-do list. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to journal before I scroll on my phone. I'm going to do all these things. But then the day goes by and you didn't again. And you get in that cycle that can just feel like an uphill battle. And so that's just a great time to reach out and invest in yourself and get a coach for that period of time to really get you off and running.
Right. And on Imperfection in Progress, the one
Mm.
thing we talk about, and that's what I coach on, is people who are people pleasers and perfectionists and procrastinators. and how we can help you move forward. But the reality is, the one thing I'm constantly saying is if you're just trying to move forward on your own, it's really hard to break a cycle that you've created, which we've all create these habits, when you don't have somebody that you're actually checking in with. You
Mhm.
would feel a little bit like, I don't want to tell you if I don't do it, so I'm going to do
Yes.
it.
Yes, and that's why we can have friends or family that we check in with, but it's different when it is an actual coach because your friends, they're still going to be your friend. It's not a big deal, but your coach is really going to pose questions to you. And when you don't do something that you thought you wanted to do, I like to have my clients sit with that and dig into it. And like you mentioned, those three P's, is that an issue? Is that a block that you have? Do we need to work through that? Do you need to sit with that and work through that piece before you can say, yeah, I actually do want to do what I said I was going to do?
Yeah. And do you find as you're working with people and holding them accountable, do they themselves then start to develop like an inner accountability? Because some of us do have that and some don't.
Yes, I do have repeat clients who usually my first set chunk that they sign up for is 3 weeks. And that's sometimes not long enough. So I've done 6 weeks or even 9 weeks, I think is the longest. But by then, I hope that they've gone through enough of the process of each call is very repetitive, and I do that for a reason so that it becomes something that you build up, like you're building up a muscle, you're practicing this. And so hopefully most things you'll be able to do on your own. However, I do think that there's times throughout a year or a few year span where you're going to want to check back in with someone professionally because if you care about what you're really going after, like if it's that important, because we just know that there's just too much that happens in life where you just kind of need that dust it off and refocus.
Yeah. When you're talking to people who are looking for accountability, I'm just thinking about people in my own head that are clients and even friends and family that have said things and they have a goal and they just aren't moving the needle forward. They might be doing lots of busy work, but it's not actually getting them somewhere. What do you find most of the time is what they're lacking, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
Usually, I think it's a mindset piece of they think they should want this or they think they should do this versus they actually really are aligned with this particular goal or task. I think sometimes when we, especially as women, people pleasing, right? We think we should do something or it's the smart thing to do or it makes the most sense to do, but it's not actually what we want in our heart, in our soul, in our being that. And so I usually find that my clients need to sort of revisit why they put this and set this out as a goal anyway, because something is not aligned, something is missing. It also sometimes that they, like, for example, let's say wellness. And let's say I have a mom who had a baby and she wants to lose pregnancy weight. That's not a big enough why because that losing weight piece is it's just surface level. So I'd say like peel back the onion. Ask yourself why again. I want to feel better about myself. Okay, why? Why does that matter? And then eventually you're going to get to something really profound like I want to have the energy to enjoy my kids. I want to be able to keep up with them. I don't want to be huffing and puffing up the stairs when they want to play and I need a nap. And that uncovering that deeper why is usually going to get rid of the blocks that you had of that procrastination, of that hold up, and it's going to let you carry on and continue forward. But without that piece, I just don't think real progress can happen.
Right. And I think that's super important that we really go deep. I know I do a 7 levels deep with a lot of my clients as well, the same idea, because we need to know what's really there that's going to motivate us. I'm so excited to invite you to the Elevated Entrepreneur Masterclass series. This free 12-day online series features 12 incredible women experts helping female entrepreneurs to release the hustle and grind of business and step into clarity and ease with intuitive strategies. If you would like to build your business with more simplicity and flow and less overwhelm and stress, then this is for you. And as an added bonus, you will have access to free resources from our experts worth over $600 just for registering. Want to uplevel your masterclass experience? Grab the Early Bird VIP All Access Pass for 1 year access to the entire series for just $27 before May 1st. Grab your free registration to the Elevated Entrepreneur Masterclass series right now at elevatedseries.com. Now back to the episode. You mentioned like you were doing something after you had your kids and then eventually it didn't quite align. I often see again women who are people pleasers or just again in the society we live in the generational kind of expectations and norms, often will commit to something and then we don't want to ever back out of it. Like we actually think, oh, I said I was going to do it and now everybody expects me to do it, or this is now my new role and therefore I have to keep plugging along, when really we need to stop and pivot. And I wonder
Yeah.
if you see that.
Oh, yes. That was a huge thing for me because I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm a classic firstborn child. I want to make my parents happy. I want the whole thing, right? And so leaving teaching was, I felt just this enormous, difficult decision. And now I look back and I'm like, why was it that big of a deal? But it really was because I had said I was going to do this. I was going to teach for 20, 30 years, retire, gain sainthood, right? Because all teachers do. And then I just decided I wasn't going to do that because it was good. But each day I would think like, is this it? Like, it's good, but this isn't like lighting me up. This isn't maybe the example that I want to show my own children, that you just are in this cycle of eat, sleep, go to work, repeat, that kind of cycle. And it's like, no, I think we can trade good for great. And so then I joined that MLM, and it pushed me out of my comfort zone and it made me grow leaps and bounds. But then you get to a point where I had told my husband, this is going to get me out of teaching. I'm going to match my teaching income with this. And he's like, great, go do it. And it was like 4 years in, and I was reaching lots of titles and accolades, but that income wasn't matching. And so then I shifted and I'm like, now I'm going to do this accountability coaching. And my husband did say to me, great, but you said that for the last thing, you said that for this thing. And I had to just stand in my own truth and say, I did say that then. I've changed my mind. I've shifted. This doesn't feel right anymore. And I need to shift. And I think as women, we don't let ourselves so easily change our minds. And being a multi-passionate entrepreneur now, I couldn't stress that message enough that we're allowed to. Doesn't matter who is questioning you, whether it's your spouse or whoever, you get to change your mind.
Yes. Yes. And I would say women that come to me often, it's in two categories. One, they're in a 9 to 5 job
Yeah.
and they've put such time into it and maybe such education before that into it, and now feel like I'd like to create a different business where I can manage more financial freedom, time freedom, or some type of side hustle that becomes that income, like you were saying. And they're looking for that, but at the same time, they're like, but people will think I'm crazy because I
Mm.
put in all this time and energy. And so that's the one shift. And the other type that comes are ones who are doing something like an MLM or some type of a business that they've started. And suddenly they're realizing that's not really where my talent is. Like I actually would still like to create a business,
Mm.
but I'm more drawn to these things. But how can I change now? Because I'm in this far. And
Mm.
so that's what I
Yeah,
see, both of those.
definitely. Yeah, and I experienced that with the MLM because I was in it for 4 years and I had a team and all the things, and I just kept thinking, I've there's been times where I told them like, pick me as your coach because I'm going to be in it. I'm going to be here. But I had to be okay with saying, I can be your coach. I'm still doing these kinds of things, but I need to do it my way. I can't do it under this umbrella, these bullet points of what you have to do or are supposed to do as this kind of MLM coach. So I just had to be okay with shifting that and just telling my clients the truth and saying, this is where I'm at.
Right. And do you find that in all of this, accountability still needs to be there no matter whether you're shifting, whether you're in something that you're enjoying, whether you're looking to pivot and do something different?
Definitely. When I was doing that MLM, the one thing that I think probably was my first taste of accountability was we would run like on Facebook groups, private groups, and we'd call them accountability groups. So each month there'd be a new group, a new theme. That was my first taste of it in a group setting virtually, but that one-to-one deeper talking deeply about what you are working on is it that lights me up so much more than that group atmosphere. It's so fun to have a great positive place to check into. But yeah, either way, some form of accountability is always going to just be the cherry on top of that because it's going to progress you further and faster.
Right. Now, somewhere I've seen statistics and I don't have them with me right now, and I'll try to maybe post them in the show notes, but talking about accountability and the fact that, like, accountability, if you tell somebody something, then
Mm,
it's this percentage that you're actually going to complete that thing. If you not just tell someone, but you actually put a date on it, then it increases it by this much, and so on. Until really the top one is if you're accountable personally, one on one to somebody who will check in and make sure you're doing those things, which is an accountability coach, really, then the percentage went to over 90% of being
mm.
successful in completing. And ever since I've seen that, I keep thinking, why would you not do that? Why would you not want over 90% success?
Yeah, that is, I have not seen those numbers, but that's astounding. And I 100% believe it because when you put all those things together, it's just, you're not going to not do it. So
Right.
it, yeah, it's wild.
When it comes to like really wanting accountability, I'm just thinking if you're listening right now and you're thinking, okay, I'd like 90% plus
Yep.
success and I have a goal and I know that I really want a certain outcome. What is it that we need to come to you with in order to know what we're saying to you, like for accountability? What are we bringing to you that you would be holding us to?
Right. So in my first call with you, I will just have you basically word vomit on me and I will just write everything down for you so that you can really get all those ideas that just float in our head that we lay down at night and we're like, I should have done this. I should do this. Oh, I have this idea. And we never get a chance as women to talk further about those. So you just need to come with a desire to do more or a desire to be healthier. It just starts with that. And if you have that, then we can figure out what pieces are right now that are going to be the things that you need to take action on. And then we'll troubleshoot and figure out what do those actions look like. And we'll break them down so small that our brains are not going to fight us on it. And we're going to be able to do one thing after the other. And that's how really you're going to find your progress.
And for you personally, I always ask everybody, you mentioned people pleasing is one of your things that you've dealt with. Where do you find yourself resonating the most when it comes to people pleasing, perfectionism, or procrastination? Where do you tend to go to?
Oh yeah, people pleasing for sure. And it's usually wanting to say yes to everything, but knowing that now with personal development thing and mindset growth, I've grown so much where I know what doesn't align with me anymore. And I know that I only have so much energy and I can't just give it out all over the place. And so not saying yes immediately and not saying yes to everything and also not doing what I think I should do and really having to tune into myself and knowing what is it that I want to do? What do I desire to do? What lights me up? And I kind of try to use the mantra of chase joy so that when I get stuck in those, I call it, where you're just doing things you think you're supposed to do, you're just doing things you think you should do. I try and refocus with, no, 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 where is my joy right now in this season? Because it's different in different seasons. Where is that joy? And what can I do today to chase that? Because what I've found is when I'm in that alignment where I am chasing the joy, the income, the success business wise, that comes with it a lot easier and a lot faster when you're in that kind of flow than when you're trying to force things that you think you're supposed to do.
Okay, so let's go there for a moment because I think
Yeah.
this is super important. I keep saying this that I believe that fun, that joy, that feeling like you're excited to actually get up and do the stuff each day has such a massive impact on the growth of your business and whatever you want to create, even if it's not a business, that it becomes an easy, um, flowing relationship with whatever you're creating. And what would you say to women out there that are feeling like they are just literally grinding it out trying to reach a goal?
Oh, I lived that during that MLM years because I would teach during the day and I had my own family and kids that I had to be a mom and be a wife and do that job too. So I would get up at 4 in the morning and I would grind out a day's worth of work for that MLM business that I was doing. And I did it for 4 years. And in that last year, those mornings where I didn't want to get up, I was burnt out. I probably had adrenal fatigue. And I just had to say, wow, I need to unlearn the lesson that my productivity is tied to my worth. That was a big one for me. Like growing up, playing sports, being really successful at that, you get cheered on for your wins and you cheered on for your achievements. And so it's very easy to learn that being productive equals worthiness. And I had to really unlearn that lesson. And but excuse me, when I was in that last year of the MLM, I just had to really look and say, I don't want to teach my kids this. I don't want to teach other women this. And that realization made it a lot easier to shift what I was doing and decide to do something different.
In all of the things that you've done, I mean, you've come through quite a transition, like starting off at teaching, being where you are now. What is one thing you'd love for women listening to this to take away when it comes to being accountable and reaching their goals?
I just want them to know that whatever goals they set, they already have the tools within them to reach, first and foremost. And secondly, you can set a goal, you can reach it, or maybe you don't. But along the way, doors are going to open for you that you weren't expecting or that you weren't originally looking for. And don't be afraid to go take and open that door, even if it wasn't the main goal you set out for, because you're allowed to change your mind. And that goal or setting that goal might be serving the purpose of getting you to this other door of opportunity that you couldn't set as a goal before because it wasn't even on your radar. So be okay with changing your mind and stand in that so bravely and strongly that you're just empowered to change and shift.
Yes, I love that. Thank you, Candace, for saying that. Tell us a little bit about your journal ebook that I know we're going to put in the show notes as your freebie. I'm really excited to hear what this can do for us.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot just now about mindset and needing to really tune in with ourselves. And I love to have my clients check in with, yes, you set some tasks for the day, but what do you need today? Especially if one of your tasks is to work out. Let's not just go with the scheduled workout, like hard cardio, whatever. Maybe you're in a flow that day where you need a walk in nature. You need something else. And so journaling helps me and my clients get to pause in a fast paced world for a few minutes and really tap into yourself. What do you need right now? What does bring you joy? And so in the ebook, I have lots of tips for getting started, different ways that you can do your journaling, including journaling things you want to release and burning it because that is so powerful. And then over 50 journal prompts for you to just really get started. Because sometimes starting a new habit like that can be tough, or you sit down with your pen and paper and you're like, oh, what do I write? And so a prompt can just help you with those first initial steps. And so there's over 50 prompts in there that you can use to get you going.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I will definitely have that in the show notes. You can also find all the places that you can connect with Candace there. But Candace, where is a good place for us just to connect with you easily?
Everything is on my website at CandaceDudley.com. So you can get any tab, you can get all the information about my accountability coaching. I have more downloadables that you can snag over there as well. So lots of information. My podcast is linked there. So you can just head right to that. There's an option to contact me and email me too directly if you want to chat about what might work for you.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being on Imperfection in Progress today, Candace.
For the invite, it was so fun to talk.